And it's at the Masonic Temple on Court Street where the auction area is. And I thought of another good reason why to register, but it kind of slips my mind at the moment.
Get your log ticket.
Yeah, your log ticket, and also your coupons and your schedules.
Your beer.
And your free beer. You get free beer when you register. So, yeah, Straw Brewery gave everybody a 4-pack.
Put it in front here so you're not in your way.
Locally, so that it's been great. So, definitely register. And I'm not going to waste any time, but Aaron Booker is next.
Yay, Aaron! Speech. Aaron Booker for president.
I need you. Yeah.
I guess they're punishing me by making me call at 10 o'clock. So. I'm not going to talk as much, but anytime anybody has any questions about the process that I'm doing here, something you don't understand about it, just ask anytime. It'll actually help me to move along. But my name's Aaron Booker. For those that don't know, I've been carving for about 15 years, about 3 years full-time. This is my 3rd year here at Ridgway. It's cold every single time. That's not changed. But I appreciate everybody coming out and showing interest in my process here. Like I said, I've been carving for 15 years. Started off kind of hand carving, doing a little bit of that on my own because that's what I could do and I had the tools to do it at times. Kind of got bogged down with that because I'd be so fixed on making everything just perfect. And it would take me months to finish pieces, and I could never get what I wanted out of it. I want $1 million for this piece. It's this big, so that wasn't working out too well. And I lost patience a little bit. I kept, I'll come back and see something I didn't like about that carving and tweak it a little, and I'd do that over and over and over. I started off drawing, hand drawing, and in that process, I started wanting. Because when you think about it, when you draw, to me it's a little different in the sense that you're trying to trick the eye into believing something's 3-dimensional when it's not. It's just 1 dimension. But with the carving, you're working in 3 dimensions. So, kids do it. Kids can take a piece of clay and mold it into 3 dimensions. It's right there. But so to me, I believe it's easier to sculpt than it is to draw. So once that hurdle's achieved, I believe that it helps a lot to be able to practice drawing. It helps you to be able to see what you plan to do, and it saves you some time that you can see, well, for me it's a gauge, because if I can draw it really easily, then I can carve it much easier. That's how I don't know if it's the same for anyone else, but that's how it works for me. And that'll give me an idea of how this is going to go. This is going to take long, and my time period that I'll let somebody know, well, it's going to take a week or however long. But yeah, there's you start, with each of my carvings I start, and it doesn't have to be this way. As long as the base color is dark, you get that shadow effect. There's, like I said, we're working in 3 dimensions, so every groove is going to be darker because it's a deeper area where the light's not actually hitting. Or shadows being cast, like from the light over there's a shadow cast making this side darker. So that's natural, but you actually enhance it whenever you make everything black. You start off black. The base that I use, it's a sealant. It's a sealant also. So Olympic makes it. I'm sure other companies make the same type of thing. It's a deck stain that it's more durable because it is made for traffic on a deck and UV protecting. So I like to use that as my first coat. So already it's sealed. And then I layer it with the colors that I choose. So, is there any questions in that part of the process of just getting it black? And like I said, I probably answered one of those things, that it's a sealant also. So
So you just go buy a can of like Olympic
Yeah, it's
black,
Olympic Maximum is what I use.
and then you take a brush and you just.
Yeah, you can spray it on. There's latex sprayers. You can use that. It's hard to do in the cold.
Yeah.
With the latex spray, it kind of freezes up on you. But if you're indoors, yeah, you can use a sprayer. You can even use just oil base. Maybe you have to use a different sprayer, but it's oil based. Some of them you can convert. They'll convert back and forth the sprayers. You can use oil or latex.
You use a 5-gallon bucket, you can dip.
Yeah, you can dip a brush. You can dip
You
a
dip the
brush.
whole piece.
Excuse me?
You can dip the whole piece.
Oh, yeah, if you had a big
5-gallon
enough,
bucket.
yeah. I thought you meant in the can, dipping your brush in the can. Yeah, you can dip the whole piece if you had a big enough, if you had a big barrel and, you wanted to dip, that's the quickest way. Just let it drip dry. I mean, what I'll do is cake it on. If I use a brush, I'll cake it on and let it run, and then I'll dry the brush off, clean it off, and then kind of take all that excess off, and it helps it to dry faster. If you have time to just cake it on and let it dry, it just takes a little longer, but it'll work. And like I said, you have that base sealant already on there. It's already sealed, and any layers just adds to the sealant that's there. So, and I don't always, but I try to buy the same brand so that they adhere properly. It says that you can put it over an oil base, even if it's stained already, and you maybe like how it turned out. You can add this latex over top of that.
Would that would be at all green though? Would that have to be pretty dry to put that?
No, I'll carve something, and right after I'm done, as long as it's dry enough to burn a little bit, I'll put the sealant right over top of that. The type that I use, that Olympic Maximum, it doesn't, it's semi, they call it, well, I'll just put it in my terms, it doesn't absorb into the wood as deep as a stained wood. But it's different than just straight latex. They call it a oil latex hybrid, so it's both. And I really didn't know that. I looked that up and I said, well, and you can tell in the effect, it adheres better, and it's a little thicker than exterior latex. So that's why I like to use it. It has a grittiness to it. Yeah, there's a Olympic Maximum, and there's an 8-year and there's a 10-year brand that they make.
You see it?
Those are some type of
Maximum one or
pre-treatment you put down on decks and things, but I don't use it.
Where is it?
Go ahead.
The first one.
The drying
Olympic
time.
Maximum.
It depends on like the time.
The 24 hours of it.
Yeah, they say, I think it's like 48 hours to cure from traffic if you put it on the deck. But I don't know any carpets we walk on too much. But benches, we sit on those, and there's a little bit of wear and tear on those. But yeah, for me, it dries fairly quick. You can get a heat gun, hit it real quick, or a torch, just keep it back a little bit and let some heat get on there, and it'll dry a little faster. On this black, I found that even if you scorch it a little bit, on latex, you'll see it bubbles up and it's ruined. But on this stuff, you can kind of scorch it a little bit. It'll bubble, but it'll go back down. The bubbles will go away, and it doesn't really drastically compromise the integrity of the paint, I guess. It's more durable in that way. Any other latex, it'd be ruined. So if you need to do that, I just keep it back a little and try to get it dry. But yeah, they make I don't know, they make different years. I usually get the 10-year. It's more durable, so for customers when they ask about that, I tell them. I show them the can, and they love that. And I explain to them the fact that it's made for traffic. I also, like I said, you can use anything though. And, as long as the base is dark, I'll use the cheap black spray paints. If it's something that's going to go inside and the sun's not going to be beating on it, it's going to be protected, and it doesn't need all that, all that sealant and protection like that. But that's what I did with this piece for time's sake. I just sprayed it black to get the effect. You can also do it with white. You can do the same thing with white and do the reverse. You can have the base white, like I have it black here. You can reverse it and make it white, and then do your color on top of that. If you take certain dogs, certain animals, if you look, their under fur is white. You know, the top, even a black dog, you lift the fur up and it's white underneath. And it gives that effect. Birds have the same thing. They have dark feathers on the outside. You lift up their fluff underneath is white. The down feathers. So you can do this. You can do these in reverse. But like I said, you can take any color. You can take a green, as long as it's darker than the surface color, and it gives that shadow effect. One of the things I just figured out on this, I never really thought about it until I looked at other things. You can take a black light and shine it on these, and it'll actually glow. You know, the surface colors, the dark will disappear. You won't see the black. But the surface colors, kind of like fish tank ornaments and all that, they kind of glow. They'll have that base. If you look at them, that's what they do. It's a dry brush technique they use. There's little castles and things inside there. They'll have a dark base and a fluorescent lighter coat on the outside. So whenever that black light shines on it, the black disappears and the lights glow. The light colors glow. I think you would have to use like you know, fluorescent colored paints to get that effect. But that's the same deal there. Any more questions on anything I've said so far? That bench there, that was the first bench I ever did. I'll never do it that way again. I took a whole slab, and a whole log, and cut it into 2 slabs. So basically I just unfolded it like that. And the seat, you know, the seat and the back are just, you know, when you look at the back of the log, it's just the round of the log. And this is the first piece I tried the dry brushing on. And I thought it came out pretty good. I made it probably a little bigger. But I don't know if you can see it all that well with the lights on. But I used, Olympic also makes it's called cedar natural tone. And it makes an orange-like color. I like the way it blends into the wood. Other stains, it kind of gets blotchy. You'll have dark spots where the grain, you know, where it's rough, where there'll be a knot or something. You try to sand it down, but it still stays a little rough, and it'll be real dark. But this stuff, like I said, it's because of how it penetrates. It doesn't go the whole way down. That's what happens with regular stain. You get a whole bunch absorbing into a rough spot. If you take, you know, 50 grit sandpaper and sand on a spot, and then take 120 grit and sand on a spot, you'll see the difference when you put the stain on. So, because one is absorbing deeper than the other. And that's what this stuff, it kind of settles on the surface. When I did it out here last year, it was really cold and thick, and I brushed it on and it just sat there, and I thought, oh, this isn't gonna work. And but when I came back later, it settled real nice and even. It just did it a little slower than normal. But I think that's why it does that way. It doesn't absorb as deep.
Is there a lot of stirring involved in that?
Yeah, if you wait like I did and wait till it freezes over, yeah, you gotta stir it a whole lot with a torch on it. But no, once you get it mixed up, you'll see on the surface of the can, it'll be darker, some type of darker pigment that comes to the surface. But and that's on the cedar natural tone. The black has like a white film. I don't know what it is, but you just stir a little bit. It's not like regular latex where you're sitting. It's like a clear liquid about that thick. I don't know what that is, but you can sit there and stir for a long time. But on this stuff, it's just, you'll see like a little bit of white swirl in the black, and you just mix it a few times and it's ready to go. Sometimes I'll just crack the can and just go, you know, it doesn't matter. It'll mix as I fool with it, but I've never seen a problem in that area where you're mixing for hours. But sometimes I'll take a Allen wrench. I have Allen wrenches that come and they're like a T-shape, and I'll stick it in my drill and just stick it in that paint and let it spin and let it stir it up. That's a quick way to stir up your paint. But yeah, make sure you don't let it freeze, because that's the thing I found out real quick. Mine froze before I even got here, and opened the trailer. I was ready to go crack the cans. This was ice on top. And I said, well, I messed up there. But, you know, I went to the Dollar General. I bought some pans, some aluminum pans, and chipped a bunch of paint out onto the pan, heated it with a torch. You know, I don't recommend that way, but you got to.
You got through it.
You got to do it if you have to. Yeah, I can, real quick, I'll just, if there's no other questions, I'll just demonstrate. And as I'm doing it, you can ask me questions. A lot of it's just feel. The good thing about this process, if you don't like how it's coming out, you know, you don't like the color maybe as you stand back and look at it and say, well, I don't know if I'm too close to this, but if you don't like the color or something didn't come out right, you can just go back over with black and it's back to square one. It's like erasers. You just erased what you just did on the color. And so you can practice on a piece. Just do something little and you know, put the colors on you choose. If you don't like it, paint it black again. Go over with the black. And we're back to square one. You can put, you know, make a change if you need to.
How easy is it to clean up? Looks like
It's like I said, they say it's a oil water. It's an oil latex hybrid, but it's a water cleaner. It just cleans it. You know, you get it on your hands or on anything, it comes off. It's just like latex. Yeah. And that's what I'll do if I touch something I don't want to. Say I have a piece finished. I try to think about that as I don't know.
It's getting too close to the speaker.
Is that what that is? Too close to Yeah, that's a good thing with your carving too. If you got a grinder in your hand, you got strings in it, that's not a good idea. So, I never done it, but that's why I try to tuck them in. But anyway, yeah, as you add your color, you know, it's basically feel, you know. See, that's what this will do. I can probably show you that on the surface of these latex. See how it waters up? But the real color's below that. I don't know if y'all can see that, but
Point it to the camera.
where's it at?
Right here.
Camera.
You can see inside there. So we got it for
Oh,
that.
I thought it was projected, okay. Project that on there, yeah. It liquids up on the top, but just, I mean, you don't even have to mix it all that well. You're just getting a little bit on the brush. That's the, to me, that's the main part. If you load up your brush, what's going to happen is it's going to go down into the deep grooves. And that's not the effect you're looking for. You're just wanting it to be on the surface. So that's why they call it dry brush. It's because your brush isn't actually dry, but you're not loading it up with a bunch of paint. And then you're just brushing it over. This is the most important part is people will go, see how you have to look where the grains are going. And when you're carving it, that's the process. It's like Tim Clark was saying, you make distinct lines everywhere so that you can end, like on my grass here, I didn't want it to blend into the same type lines I got here on the post. So what I do is try to make distinct lines between to where I'm going to stop. And so you think about it as you're carving, how you're going to do that. And you go against every line you see. If you go with it, like I said, you're going to dig down in there and put paint where you don't want it. And it's real quick, like, you know, you can see how quick you can get the effect. You can see, some people say, I don't like the paint because it covers up the grain and I want to see the grain. Actually, what this does is exposes the grain. The black hides it, but then once you hit it with the, you know, with the paint, it really makes it pop out. And it really doesn't matter the direction you go this way or this way. I kind of like to go in one direction. It makes it look neater. If possible. Sometimes you'll see as you're doing it, you can't get in a certain spot. And you just have to do it the way you can. Sometimes I'll just dab it on there because I can't really stroke. I can't get a stroke going across. Like places like this, I'll just get it in there just and touch it on the surface of the grass. But you'll see as this dries and I come back and hit it again, it'll be bright. Y'all can see it here, but y'all can see on the inside here what I'm doing. And see, if I get on a spot I don't want it to be on, when I come through with the other color, it's not going to matter because it's only the other color is only going to touch that spot. So it really is not going to matter that much. I mean, I wouldn't recommend hitting the whole thing and being real sloppy, but that's why I like this process because you don't have to get bogged down like I used to. That's what I would do, just get so bogged down in details. But I was looking for different ways to get something done real quick. I tried to make the grass come up and be, come up on there. And that's, as I'm carving, that's what I'm doing. I'm thinking of how I can make that stand out in different depths. So if you're not very patient, this is the, like I'm not, this is the process that's best. And like I said, they make in the Valspar, and they make an exterior, and I'll use exterior, but also in the deck stain, they make almost every color you can think of. I didn't think that, and I think that's common that people think there's only a limited amount of stains, and they call it stains. It's really like I described earlier. Because when I say stain, people go, stain, they think it's the real thin, watery type. But they call it a stain, but they make so many colors in it. And I didn't know that they have a whole pamphlet of colors. You might be able to pull it up there. All the different colors. I was surprised. Now the owls on the fence, this is a real good, so if you're going to do a quick carve, you can do it. You can do this whole thing out of a 16 diameter log. The whole carving here. That's what I did. If you look at it, you can see. I just took a log, some chalk. I just took a log. We got an eraser somewhere.
There's that turquoise washcloth right there. Yeah.
You take a log, you can just split it, leaving a section in the middle. And you use that section, it'll be a slab. You cut your rails out, the fence rails. There'll probably be, out of the 16 inch, you'll still have a little scrap piece. So you can actually really utilize that wood. There'll be a piece left. You can use both ends. In the middle of that you can use the middle piece for your next fence rail. So that slab in the middle, you can cut it, into your fence rails, and the two ends, these pieces, these two pieces you use as the ends, and you can kind of see it in the grass, and that supports the whole carving, so it stands up on its own. But that's just out of a 16 diameter log. You leave it. As long as it's tall enough and you factor in where your bird's going to be or whatever you put on the post, you can put raccoons up there or whatever. You can even, if you use it big enough and you don't want to save that middle piece because it may be pretty thick when you're done, you can actually turn that sideways like this style here and carve your birds on the rail. I've done that before too. I think that's one of the pictures that are on the slide. I took the log, turned it sideways, cut the rails, and left a chunk in the middle, left a block in the middle, and carved the birds. So you can actually put the birds on the rail and do it that way. Yeah, it's really efficient, I think. I don't think I came up with that, but I like to think I did. Probably did. There's really nothing I've seen that I've not seen, somebody else do, or it's really original. It's just different ways, just like this dry brush. I mean, it's been done on other things, and people have done it. I just tried to make it, kind of a quick way and a neat way that I can do it in competitions, do it as a demonstration. People can see how the whole process works really quick. But that's the green. The brown, this color of brown I like the best. Who asked that question about the stir?
Stir, yeah.
So yeah, it's like a quick liquid on top.
Oh, okay.
And then watch as you mix it. See how the brown is underneath? But there's not that much of it.
I got deck stain before, and then they put paint right in with the stain. This has already got it all together, right? When you buy that in the can, it's already mixed.
What are you asking? What is already mixed?
I mean, when you buy that Olympic color's already
Yeah,
in
you're
there.
talking about a base, buying the base, and then you
Yeah,
have to pick it.
I've gone over like the Lowe's and bought the base, you know, then they add paint to it.
Yeah.
It's not that, it's
I can't really remember. Go ahead, we have it mixed? Okay. I always send my wife to go pick it up, so I don't want to do it. I'm always doing something and trying to delegate some work. But, yeah, I guess they, it's a base and they mix the
They
colors.
mix it.
Because there are different blacks.
right.
You can get, I think they call it opaque and then translucent, meaning you can get the kind, opaque would be solid.
Right.
And then translucent, you know, it lets a little bit of the color come, of the wood, the natural grain come through, so.
Which do you use?
I use the opaque, because I don't want to really see the grain, you know, visually in that way. I want the texture to be there, but not the actual color of the grain.
It's been 50 years.
So,
I mean, on our deck.
but here's the, see, just like that, and that's, I mean, that's basically done right there.
Wow.
And then you get that effect. What I'll do when there's knots in the wood, I'll actually follow with my saw. I'll make these lines, and I'll go around the knots. It actually naturally makes the saw kind of want to go around it because it's harder. So it's easier to do it that way anyway. When you try to fight against that knot, your saw starts jumping everywhere. But I go around it, and then because I want that character there of the knots, and you can make them when there's none. You can make them. And what I'll do when I do the dry brush around those, I won't hit it as dark. I'll go dark around. I'm saying dark, but I lighten it around it and leave the knot kind of dark. Like this, there's a knot there, and what I'll do is just barely hit it. And go dark all around it. See, and that, just doing that, see how much I'm getting it lighter and lighter around it, and leave the knot alone. And you'll see it, as everything is nice and even, you'll see it stand out even more. By the time I do the whole board here, you'll see the knot is a lot darker than the rest. And that's the part, I'll show you something this is the part that's learned by actually doing it. The feel is what I'm talking about, the touch that you have to develop. You can't really teach it, you just have to do it by experience. But a lot of people might just do like this. See, and then you can see all that. It looks really uneven, it kind of blotchy. This is the part you learn, is just to kind of let the brush make everything even. To me, that's the part that makes it look clean. If y'all can see it on this side, I'll stand. I try to search out the dark spots that so like you know, like when I'm doing these fence rails, I'll even do the lines across the top so that pops out when you're looking down on it. I'm trying to put texture on every surface that I can. You know, you can't really do this on a dry brush on a smooth surface. You don't have that contrast that you have when you do this. And that's what I mean by thinking about what you're going to do in your paint as you're carving. Once that dries, see this part over here, I mean, it's not completely dry, but it's fairly dry. I mean, just because you're not loading the brush with a bunch of paint. And this, I've had this for months. I mean, this will go so far, you can tell by the look of the can, it's all, the lids don't even stay on. I'm always cleaning that out because I'm always brushing it off. But it goes so far because you're just using a very little bit.
A little hint for you, Aaron, and I do this all the time. when you first open up the can, take a finish nail,
Punch holes in
punch
the
holes in it,
Yeah.
and that'll,
I do that and it cake up with paint.
well, that's a little thicker paint.
Yeah, it's because I'm brushing it off so much. You don't even really do that. I mean, I
Okay.
probably don't do it right. I probably should be doing it like that. But I'm rushing and I don't care. But even with the lid not on, I mean, I have a few accidents where it dumps over inside my bin and all that. But, you know, it lasts so long. It's just, by the time it gets to the bottom, it's just worthless anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And another key is I use these little, with these quarts. And the size of your brush, you can't get them, you know, if you're trying to do something big, you can't, all the brushes won't fit inside. So I like to get you can get them at Walmart, you can get them at Lowe's, Home Depot, dollar brushes. And what I'll do, you can see they're making, when you buy them, you'll see they're making them cheaper and cheaper. See the center, how it's hollow? They used to have bristles in there. They used to fill the whole thing with bristles. Now they found a way to save some bristles, I guess. And they don't, there's just wood in the middle. So what I'll do to stiffen the brush, it's not as stiff as it normally they used to be. So I'll take it and I'll just take scissors and clip them and make them a little more stiff. I have sorry about that. I had a brush up here and the bristles are real short. It makes it, when you're doing deep grooves like this, the longer the bristle, the better, because it's not going to go down in there. Yeah, here it is. I'll cut the bristles kind of short. Just clip them off, and you'll see over time as you use them, they break off anyway. They end up looking like this. You can see this is an old one, but you can use these so long. As long as you clean them out, they'll last forever. You know, as long as you're as long as you're doing that. This is probably like 5 years old, but because you're not really abusing the brush, you're just doing like this, just barely touching the wood. So it lasts a long time. Like I said, you just take them and clip them, and they're a little more stiff. And when you're doing fine grain like that, just not very deep lines, it'll keep it, the stiffer it is, it'll keep it from flapping down inside the grooves. And I found that out the hard way. That it'll keep it from going down in it because they're so stiff they don't just flick down into it. So, but it's easier that way. I can do it with really any brush now because I'm doing it so many times. But yeah, this can, you can hold it in your hand. The big gallon, sometimes I'll run out or something and I could go to the big gallon and use the bigger brush, get something done faster. But see, you can see lines you couldn't see before, you can see as soon as you strike the brush over it. See, after this is dry one time, watch the difference when I go over it again. It's like it brightens it so much more the second time. Because what's happening is that black is actually bleeding through a little bit and making it darker. But by the time that dries, the second coat doesn't really absorb as much. I like to use paint. I like paint better than stain because you have more control over where it goes. I like stain for certain process. You know, certain carvings I'll do, I like stain on there. Just depends. But you know, when I'm trying to control where it goes, you know, stain bleeds. It bleeds a little into places you don't want it to go. You can't control it as much, but it has its place. I like on the corner of things, or if something's protruding further than another part, I like to make that, really cake it on that area, like on the corner of things, like this. It's just little things. I know it sounds like, you know, no big deal, but it's just those little things like that that make things stand out a little bit each time. with an airbrush, you know, if you're going to use an airbrush, it's almost the opposite of this process, because you're actually taking, you know, that darker color and spraying it all in every deep groove to get that shadow effect. And it takes a lot longer to get that effect. I like the look of airbrush. It's a really soft look.
Aaron, did you dry brush the owls or did you airbrush those?
No, yeah, that's different. I used just a rattle can on that, sprayed the white on, and what I do is burn it a little bit on the brown on that outside. I'm scared to walk over here. The brown on the outside, I'll just burn that and then brush it. And it really does the same thing. It has the same effect. That char goes down into the deep areas. And then I'll take a grinder, or you use a flap sander and sand off the surface, and it makes it light. And then I'll take brown spray and just mist it over that. And then that light area takes on that brown, which is lighter than the burnt brown, the char that goes down in there. So you get that same effect, to where the deep grooves are dark and the surface is light. But yeah, you could, on the first one I did like this, I did everything dry brush. So yeah, that's the difference between these two pieces here, which I intended to do it that way, because it took too long for me to do it all here. And like I said, I used the rattle can, and you couldn't spray that in here. But you can basically see what I'm doing and how fast that goes on. I mean, I'm taking longer for explaining's sake, but that's basically, the look you'll get. But like I said, it's when you're carving it, that's where you're thinking about that. You're thinking about, okay, I want to do this color. If I do my post brown, I don't want to do my owls or whatever I got on top. I don't want to do them the same brown. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll use this. I'll use this color here, and then I'll do this, separate it with this. I'll put grass at the bottom. You can separate that, and then as you're carving, how you're going to paint it. That's what I do. I don't know if that'll be effective for everybody, but it'll help you. Because I don't want to be carrying around giant buckets of paint, big. I have one bin. It's about, I don't know, a foot and a half by 2 feet wide. That's where I put all these cans in. That's what I take everywhere. That's what I do. And like these best prices, it's just 3 cans that I'll use. 2 really are just the colors. But the smaller the can, the better. The more you can fit. That's the same on a piece like this. I did the same You know, it's just everything's going this way, same as the rails on the fence. And just, you know, whatever color. Some you can use a gray too, like a weathered, make it look like a weathered piece of, you know, stump or whatever. I did a fence like that, and I did the rails in gray. The
So
same
you
thing.
use the gray instead of the brown?
Yeah, on the fence, yeah. I used I tried to match it to look kind of weathered. It's a real light gray and just barely hit it and let the black come through, like I was saying earlier. Let that black come through a little bit, and I thought it looked pretty nice. And I sold it, so that's all that mattered. If somebody wants to try, you know, just hit this and, you know, get the feel for it. You can try it on this piece right here, or we can turn the house on the fence around to the black side. And if anybody wants to try it real quick, you can take a shot at it. Yeah, if anybody wants to.
At the end.
We can turn one of the rails. We can just turn one of the rails around. So it's basically dry to the touch.
You just spray it black with a spray can, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I wasted, you know, you waste a lot when you don't get it down pat and you're up here and you're down here and you get spots everywhere. I just evenly, I'll just work like this back and forth real quick. Real even back and forth, and you can spread it really quick. Yeah, you can get it in there. I think it looks better if you make sure, when I brought it in here, you'll see there's chips on the surface, you know, as you're moving it around, and that doesn't matter because you're going to cover it. And but as long as you get the grooves dark, that's what you're looking for. If there was a way to just get the grooves dark and be done, that's all you need. That's the same. That's what I do on the owls. I actually sand off the surface, and it's kind of the reverse, and the grooves stay dark. So it's that process of making it shadow. But there's nobody wants to try it. It's fun.
I think you scared everybody.
Yes. I'll do the dip first, and then you can try.
Where you
Just
go,
against the
Washington?
grain, and just lightly let the brush do the work. Don't really press. Yeah.
Stand to the side.
I'll get out there. Trying to keep this thing.
Nice spot.
Piercing my ear.
No, this comes right, yeah, it just pops right out.
And the more you, I should have gave you the stiffer brush, but the more you just move along and just work your way down and make everything even, you'll see it. The brush does the work. I mean, you're really not thinking.
You like to hold the brush from more of an angle, don't you?
Yeah, you want to kind of just let it, you know,
Side.
like Karate Kid, you know, paint the fence.
Wax on, wax on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
paint the fence, you know. This is a literal fence, too. But, yeah, you're just going up against the grain, let the brush do the work. The more the straighter it is, the more it's prone to get down into the groove. Too dry brush, brush. Just, yeah, get it off. Yeah, and what I do is when I take it in the beginning, I'll go lighter, and as I wear out the paint, I press a little harder to get, you know, to make it even. Because when you load it up, see how it cakes on. But if you keep on moving, it'll stay pretty even as the paint wears off the brush.
And then here's a knot, so I probably.
Yeah, you just go light as you can across the knot. You know, let a little color get on there, and then fade it away around the knot. And then what it'll do, that knot will start popping out, and, you know. Up close, it's like those oil paintings where it's all blood. You get real close, it's sort of blotchy looking, and you step back and you can really see the picture.
Yeah, this is cool.
It's fun. That's what when I first started doing it, I was like, wow, I like that. And it's fun because you get to see that just right before your eyes. It just pops
comes
out.
right out.
Lines that you can't even see. Every little saw
yeah,
line, you know, as your saw comes across, it makes scratch lines that you don't even know are there. But when you touch it and it pops out, it makes that contrast. And you can really see it.
Oh, anybody else?
You're doing good.
It's cool.
You'll get addicted to it. Everything I see, I want to dry brush.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
How did you make all the marks with the saw? Just light.
Yeah, I just lightly drag it across. Like I'll take the tip and just drag it this way. and let the saw, a lot of times the grain will make it go just the same way the grainer in the wood, because it will make your saw, the lighter you hold it on there, it's going to guide the saw. And I just drag it across, and it's different for different effects. I'll go deeper. You know, I use the corner of my chain, and I'll go deeper on a bigger tree, you know, because it's going to have deeper lines. I want it to be more dramatic. But on the fence, I didn't want it to look like, on a tree, I'll make it look like bark. On the fence, I just wanted it to look like the grains of the wood.
You just kind of let the saw wander down.
Yeah, just let it wander. If it's sharp, if it's dull, it'll go all over, and you'll have swirls. It don't look really good. But if it's sharp, you got it sharp. All you gotta do is just touch it and just drag it. Even on the knots, it won't really force you off the knot. It'll just kind of skate around it a little bit.
Anybody else?
Yeah, that looks good. Anybody else want to try it? Let's go. We got one more side.
Now you took $1,000 carving and made it a $1,500 carving.
Yeah.
Just by having Washington work on it.
West Coast.
Oh, that's another thing. That's something else I've done. Randy had an eagle. We were at Chaps event. Just barely dip it and then brush it dry, get everything off in it. And then just constantly move as you're brushing it and just work your way down. There you go. That's good.
You tell us about Chaps.
All right, I'm gonna sit down. She's gonna teach how to drop it.
Stand to the side, Evelyn.
You're doing a good job.
Stand more.
Yeah, Randy had an eagle there that they yeah, there it is. And the customer,
Hang on.
the person that bought it was raw and it had already dried, so I cut it down the back. It was relief cut in the back. And they said, "Can you paint this for us?" Because they saw how I did the dry brush. They said, "Can you?" And it just opened my mind, like, "Oh yeah, I could paint that." And so I thought, well, even if people had carvings, you know, you can make money that way too by just going and saying, "Well, I'll paint it for you." So that's another market there. And you know, they paid me to just drop it. What's that? Yeah, okay. I'll do that. Yeah, and see, and that's the thing with his carving. It was I love painting it because everything was distinct. All the rocks, see how, and the roots. You can see the difference between the rocks and the roots, and you can really make it pop out because of the black. It's almost like a cartoon. They outline everything in black, and everything is separated by a black line. But that's the effect you get. On white, I've noticed on the eagle heads, when I first started doing them, I didn't like the effect. It didn't look right to me. But to get it looking solid, more solid than, you know, because underneath all of that white is black. And so to get the effect I wanted, I had to keep on caking it on, even sometimes when the brush was really dry, get it down in the groove. And that to me made a better effect. And you might find the same thing if you try it on an eagle head, on feathers, and things that are going to be complete opposite of the base color. Like, you know, if you do the base black and you're going to put white on top, you want to get down in there a little bit. If you don't, it kind of looks cheap to me when I do.
And the tail feathers.
Yeah, and on the tail feathers, on all that kind of thing. But on the beak, like I was saying, even the little imperfections, you know, even if you sand something smooth, I'll still dry brush that. I'll mostly coat it, like I did that in orange, but I'll coat mostly everything. But there's little imperfections on the beak, like, you know, little saw marks and things that really, if you don't just leave those, it really, to me, it makes it, it incorporates it into the rest of the carving because it has that same style. The good thing about it, too, is you can hide. The problem I had with carving eagles in the beginning, their feet look like big duck feet or chicken feet, you know. And what you can do is because they were so big, but on a carving like that, all you do is touch the top. Touch the top with the orange, and all the other stuff kind of to your eye just fades away. And it really makes your eye only draw to the color. And so if you're in a competition, you're doing something quick, and you don't got time to sit there and whittle away at toenails and all that, well, just touch the top and make the point with the paint. So you're kind of getting that effect with paint. So that's what I did on that. Not that the feet were too big. It was just I wanted just the surface to stand out. same as the beacon. That's like a stylized one. But, I just touched the top, and there was more there on the side, but you just can't see it. It fades away into the shadow. And so that's a good way to, if you got something you're trying to move quick, or it's just not looking right, you can maybe make it up with paint, if you think about it. You might be able to look at it and go, well, I don't have to carve on that anymore. I'll just hit the surface. And it's that effect, it's the same effect with the black light. Everything black disappears. You know, when you walk in, you know, you have a black lettering on you, it's kind of, it disappears and the white glows. So it's that same effect with your eye. You're seeing the lighter spot, your eye is drawn to. The rocks he did, if you look at the rocks, they have the little imperfection, even though they're mostly smooth on the sides, but it's those little black lines in there that make it, to me, look like a rock. A criticism somebody gave, they said, wow, that, you know, I like it. It just, I've heard a few people say, it just looks like plastic. And I'm like, okay, good. Because that's what we're doing. I mean, not that I'm trying to make it look like plastic, but I want you to come up. People have done this at shows. They'll come up and they'll go, they'll knock on it. Is that? And then they'll say, is that wood? It's wood. But that's what we're doing. I mean, you take a piece of wood and you're trying to make it look like a stone. It's not a stone, but you're trying to make that effect. Now, if you can achieve that, that's the goal. You're trying to make things that aren't. It's all wood, and you're trying to make it look like feathers. You know, look like something soft. And that's the. If you can do that with paint, make it look like another media altogether. I mean, to me, that's a compliment to me. It's not a harsh criticism, but yeah, that's the goal on a lot of my pieces. I don't want you to know. I want you to look at it and go, did he even carve that? I mean, is that? So a lot of the things I see that fascinate me and inspire me are things that I'm like, is that even wood? I mean, like that picture, I'm like, it looks like a cast. You could put that in a in a cathedral somewhere. You wouldn't even know it wasn't part of the plaster. It doesn't look like wood, but that's the goal. I think it doesn't hurt my feelings when people say that. But yeah, I had several other. I don't know what y'all saw whenever we were going through, but the first piece I did here, yeah, that's my raccoon bench. And you can see I did that, and the ground was, I mean, my sawdust was solid. It was just froze to the ground. The carving was froze to the ground. I couldn't hardly even move it. I laid it on its side, and whatever water was in it started to come out, and it froze. It was freezing. There was icicles attached. I left for like, it was probably 5 minutes, and there were icicles attached to the ground from the carving. That's how quick and how cold it was that day. I'll never forget that. Every time I see that bench, I'm like, oh, that. But that bench, I said before, I'll never do I took the thick slab and I had to actually notch it around the carving, and it took forever. It was the first one I did. I was only looking at benches, and I said, well, I'm gonna try that. I didn't really know how people were doing them and doing them so quick. And I said, well, that obviously ain't the way. That took too long. But that's one of my favorite pieces. Had a lot of detail in it. I don't know which other ones you showed up there.
I get back and I see the streaks now where even though I went across each brush stroke, I needed to do it again because they're still there.
Yeah.
That takes a fair amount of time.
See, when you're up on it,
yeah, you can't
really see that, but as you back up, you can really see everything. And that's what I try to do when I'm doing it. I can see that. I can see like right here and right here.
Yeah.
But here it's dark. Yeah. And I'll just come back.
And
oh, now they disappeared.
Yeah.
So, and that's really I think I'm telling y'all too much. I'll never win a competition.
Yeah. Most of us are too old to remember.
I learn something new every day, but I forget 5 other things.
Yeah.
But we got it on video now.
Yeah.
We got you.
But you can't get out, though. But, yeah, to me, that's...
And this is coming up big in judging now.
Yeah.
For the competitions. I constantly see this, and it's part of the categories for completion. So when I work with the judges to train them for stuff like that, painting is becoming very popular.
Yeah, it's like Tim was saying, it's just you can keep going. I mean, you can just keep on adding to a carving. You can hang things on it, you can do whatever you want, as long as it, you know, is pleasing to the customer. If they want that, you know.
If they hurry through it,
yeah,
we can tell, and it can destroy your carving
yeah.
too. So, gotta have your heart into it when you're doing it.
And that's the thing with the faster, the more you do it, the faster you get, and you can hurry, not, and it'll look neat. Like those little things I'm talking about. That's why I say all that, because it's those little things. If you can clean them up, you know, that's where the hand carving to me got. That was my mindset. I want everything neat and clean, and you know, I'll get in there and take a V groove and make every line almost perfect, to where there's no lumps or notches. And so I try to incorporate that in this, but I have to consider time too. I can't spend all that time. But get a piece and practice. Just keep on, you know, doing the same thing.
That top rail to the bottom one was a perfect example. There you could see the blotches this way.
Yeah.
And then the bottom.
And then you clean it up.
The judges can see that real well.
The top one almost looked like the saw marks were out at the mill.
And not to pick, but you know.
Yeah.
It's a nice example.
That's the sawtooth, just, you know, it's making its own, and I'm not intending for it, it's just there. I mean, the saw's doing it on its own. When you drag it, it's making them little lines nice and even, and it exposes them. When it was black, you couldn't see them. But as soon as you do that.
Nice lesson.
That's that. I mean, like I said, it's basically dry. I mean, because you're not putting a lot of paint on it. I just want to do one more thing. The eyes, I like to blacken the eyes. I use a high gloss latex on the eyes. And people always say, is that those marbles? No, I just tool, and then I'll go over top of it with really shiny black latex. And it makes it look like that. And I'll just get it on there and cake it on. First time I'll just go thin and just get it black. Let's get it all black. And then I'll come back over it once it's all black, just cake it on the brush and let it sit in there. If you put too much on it, it'll run out. But just get a bunch of it on there. Right to where it's almost dripping off, and I just touch it on there and let it do its own thing, and it'll naturally even out. On these little brushes, I don't invest in no real high priced, you know, I just go to Walmart and get a pack of brushes. Because I'll end up rushing around, leaving it lay and dry out. So I just, you know, and you're so rough, like these little ones, you're real rough with them and they start to splay out. And you know, they're all over the place. So I just get cheap ones, nothing fancy.
It's cheaper in the long run to get the little cheap ones and throw them away.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get a lot of use out of them.
And not spend a whole bunch of time trying to keep them clean.
Yeah, you don't have to get bogged down. My mindset kind of changed with everything. I started doing everything with the thought of how quick can I get my desired result. Because I was real critical, like I said, of everything I did. There's drawings I would do, you know, my wife and my family, they'd look at them and, oh, we love that, and I'd tear it up. Because I'd come back and look at it, and there's something about it I didn't like. And I didn't like the erase because you get smudges on it. I just got rid of it. They would tell me they loved it. But and that's the same way with carving. You might do a carving and come back and go, oh, okay, now I see what I did. But as you're focused on it and what your mind is doing, I believe you're compromising and saying, that's pretty good, that's pretty good. You're telling yourself that. And then when you come back the next day, you're seeing it fresh from a different angle. My granddad taught me, in drawing, take the picture that you drew and go get in the mirror and look at it in the mirror. Hold it up to the mirror, and now you're looking at it from the reverse aspect, the reverse angle. And it shows you can really, I didn't believe him until I did it. I said, oh yeah, you can see every little thing because you're so used to seeing it that way. Your mind starts telling you that's good. Because that's what you're doing. You're tweaking it until you think it looks okay. But your mind plays tricks on you in that way. But that's what I do almost every carving. I'll get pictures of them and I'll go, I could see, I'd change this or I'd change that. Or I'd cut that thing's head off completely. But as long as I stay like that, I think that's what makes people excel. And that's the advice I try to give to people in carving, because I still do it. I do it with every single carving. I'll look at it and go, what can I change about that? And there's certain carvings, not much, and then there's others, like I said, I'd probably burn the whole thing. I see customers, I'll go back somewhere and they'll say, can you do this or that? And I'll see something I carved from back in, a few years ago, and I'll try to see if I can get that thing back and cut that thing's ears off, or where can I do that? But there are, Tim talked about some of the softer woods, but if you treat the wood in a good, some of the softer woods, if it's treated right. And one of my first carvings, it was out of a piece of, I think it was spruce, and I wasn't sure. It was like I said, it was one of the first big carvings I did, and I wasn't sure how well it was going to do, because she was going to stick it outside in a flower bed. And I told her, you stick it on a slab and try to keep it up off the ground a little bit, let air get under it. But I told her I gave this, it was a Cuprinol, I believe was the product name. And I said, if you keep applying this every so often, if you see it wearing off, just put some more on. And she listened to that advice, and she did. And I just went back just recently and took pictures of it. I mean, it looks like the day I put it out there. So, and I was surprised. I thought I was going to go back and it was going to be this rotted little thing sitting there, and I'm going to have to hurry up and drive away. But I actually got out and was taking pictures of it, because it was in almost the same condition that it was. I couldn't tell any different. But
it's just wood.
It's just the way you treat it. Yeah, if you treat it.
It's just wood. Take care of it.
Yeah, if it got the right finish on it, and you have it in the right place, it accelerates the worst, conditions that it's in. But of course, different woods last longer just naturally. It's just, if you can get a piece of that and work with that, that's ideal. But, yeah, that's about it. I mean, if there's any questions on that, I don't know how long I felt like I've been up here talking.
Yeah, you're perfect.
You got it.
Right on.
Thank you, Eric.